Story time while I prepare dinner. So the weather is getting cooler here in British Columbia, and my oldest daughter, she loves to cook. She's a great cook. And so she suggested that we bring out the crock pot and make some crock pot recipes. I thought that was a great idea. So one of the recipes I wanted to make was one of my husband's favorites called noodles and fleisch. I hope I said that right. Now, as most of you know, my husband and I, we were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses. We were baptized, we left the religion. We ended up getting disowned by our families, which is hard enough, but then add some layers. Both of my parents passed away in the last year, and my husband's mother passed away when he was 3 years old. So he spent a lot of time with his Oma, who made this German recipe that I'm attempting to make today. But even another layer, his Oma has dementia. So I want to make this recipe for my husband. This was last week. And so I'm trying to Google or search this recipe. It's a German dish. As far as I know, it's called noodles and fleisch. I may start to cry here. It's not the story, it's the onions. But I had no idea what kind of meat I'm supposed to buy, or, I'm not having much luck finding the recipe on the computer. And there's no one that I can call, no family that I can call and be like, hey, what do I need or what do I use for this recipe? So I'm at the grocery store, I'm in the meat section, and I'm just like looking around hoping that maybe some, German person will walk past and I could be like, excuse me, do you know how to make noodles and fleisch? Unfortunately, I didn't find a German person. So I asked the meat person that was stocking the meat, and I said, can you recommend what type of meat, what cut of meat would be good for this recipe? She asked me the list of ingredients, and then she suggested I use the beef blade roast. So I bought the roast and all the ingredients, and I came home and I started preparing this recipe. And by the way, it ended up being amazing. My husband his eyes rolled back into his head and he was just in love. So far we have the onions chopped up. I'm making the marinade for the roast, and now I'm going to chop up the garlic. So a few days later, after making the German dish, I remembered one of my favorite dishes growing up was a Hungarian dish called chicken paprikash. Now, the reason I would have this is that my older sister, she would prepare it when I would come to visit because she was married to a Hungarian man. Now, the natural thing would be that a younger sister could just text or call her older sister up and say, hey, can I get that recipe for the chicken paprikash that you made when I was little, because it was so good. But once again, being raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses and leaving that religion, you're shunned. And so that normal, natural relationship that, I think hopefully most have with their siblings, I don't have that. So once again, I go to trusty Google and I search up chicken paprikash, and I find the recipe, or what I hope is the recipe, and I made it. I have my onions and garlic in here. I'm adding chicken broth. It's supposed to be beef broth, but I don't have it. But what I would say to the governing body is, if there are people who want to be Jehovah's Witnesses, let them be Jehovah's Witnesses. But to all the ones who don't want to be Jehovah's Witnesses, let them leave without the shunning, without the disfellowshipping, without the public shaming and marking. Just let them leave. Like, what's wrong with people having different beliefs? Why can't a mother and her child still have a relationship, still talk about noodles and fleisch or chicken paprikash, just because they believe differently? I've added my salt and pepper. I am also adding some bay leaves, okay? And we're going to chop up some carrots now. Don't get mad at me. I only have baby carrots right now. I should have big carrots, but we're gonna chop up baby. I'm a 42-year-old woman. I've been married almost 25 years. I have 3 beautiful daughters. And it's still hard being shamed and, shunned from your family and community. But my heart tears for the younger people who get disowned and shunned, you know, 17, 18, 19 years of age, and like, where do they go? What do they do? And when they need to talk to their mother or father or sister, it is just so unnatural and so unloving. If you're born into the Jehovah's Witnesses, like I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and you think it's normal. Like you grow up and yes, you see people get disfellowshipped and shunned from their family. I had a couple of my older brothers who were disfellowshipped when I was young, and one of them for 2 years. We couldn't see him, talk to him, spend time with him. And my other brother for 10 years, an entire decade of relationship that you lose out on. And it's not only hard on the person who has been disfellowshipped and shunned, but it's extremely hard on the parents, the siblings, the entire family, the friends, the community. Like, it's hard on everyone, and yet they continue it and call it loving discipline. Next, I'm adding rosemary. Here we go, rosemary, beautiful, smells amazing. Next, I'm adding vinegar. This is supposed to be red wine vinegar, but I don't have red wine vinegar, so we're gonna add this one. Next into the marinade is red wine. This is my most favorite red wine. It's Molly Duker, the Boxer. I don't like to use it on this recipe, but I'd rather drink it, but it's the only red wine I have. So we're gonna add red wine. We have all our ingredients together for our marinade. We're going to place this on the stovetop and bring it to a boil. Then we're going to cool it and pour it over our roast. And place the roast and the marinade into the crock pot and let it cook all day. Let's check the recipe. We also need to add a tablespoon of sugar to the marinade. Also a few cloves. I have the roast in the dish, and when the marinade finishes boiling and then cools, I'm going to pour it over the roast. So once you put this in the crock pot, you're going to let it cook all day, simmer, and the meat just gets like, you don't even have to chew it. It's so soft and tender, and it kind of has like a thin gravy. It's not thick. It's a beautiful like brothy gravy, and you can serve this over noodles or mashed potatoes. My husband's Oma used to serve it over noodles. There's a part in the recipe, I don't know if you've ever made this recipe before, but it says to add ground ginger snap cookies at the end to the sauce, to the gravy. I didn't do that last week because I'm not sure if that's what Oma did, because I can't ask her. But if you've ever added the ginger snaps, do you recommend it? Do you not? Anyways, this is going to be amazing. My husband's going to be so excited. If you have any great family recipes that have been handed down generation after generation, I would love to try your recipe. I don't know if you want to message me here on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. I'll put my handles here, and I would love to try your special family recipes.